You could jump in if you want, Craig. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is your co-host, Mike, Multifamily Unplugged. Saturday morning, your raw, unscripted radio. Hey, quick, go wake somebody up. Let them know that we're on the air and that we are here to have a great time. We are definitely going to dig into some multifamily, some real estate stuff today. We're joined by a great guest, Greg McDaniel. Greg, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Glad to be here. It's such an honor and a blessing.
Glad you're here, Greg, man. I know last time we tried to get you here, some stuff came up in your life, and I'm glad that we were able to circle back and have you back. So
I'm just honored that you guys allowed me to come back because I was such a screwball. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. Like, I feel like such a jerk, for not showing up and, everything else. And so, guys, I am pumped to be here this morning.
Yeah. See my hat, Carl, or see my hat, Greg?
Yeah. Be kind.
Yeah. Something I'm not going to be this morning. Okay.
Oh, so good.
You guys just buckle up because I've been up since 4 and I got my workout in. Carl, you were going to come meet me this morning for 500 push-ups, 150 dips, a little run, some sit-ups. I didn't see you.
Yeah, you got the wrong Carl, buddy. I never committed to that.
Oh, must have been my other friend, Carl.
Yeah, it must have been the other guy. It was the other guy.
Oh, God. Hey, let me just do some housekeeping. Good morning, everybody. This is Mike. I am your co-host for Saturday morning on Multifamily Unplugged. I am right now trying to find my way onto Clubhouse Live. We're live on Facebook. We are live on Zoom. If you are joining us for the first time or beyond that, feel free to go wake somebody up, stick a cup of coffee in their hand because they're not going to want to miss 1 minute of this morning, that's for sure. Start room. Here we go. Now we're live on Clubhouse. So we'll have to stop a couple times and just reset the room and everything. Remember, you guys, please do us a favor. Go out there, go to social media, wherever you hang out, and you get your best fix. And like us and love us. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Follow us wherever, you've got Carl and myself. You've got Carl's Your Focus Guy and My Core Intentions. And you got Greg McDaniel and Real Estate Uncensored, who we're going to get to here in a minute. So, hey, Carl, last night was kind of nice, huh? Went out, had a nice little dinner, hung out, got to look at some talent. And
yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, it was right there in, the Viagra Triangle, but,
So we go to the coffee shop at there's this little place in Chicago called the Viagra Triangle. We go to the coffee shop in the park and I asked the guy, I say, hey, is this where you buy Viagra? The guy goes, nobody's ever asked me that. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no, I know that's what they call this area, but it was funny. Thank God for favor.
We might want to explain why. It's because it's where all the old retired, guys with dough go to hang out. And then all the young, what do they call them? Gold diggers, all the gold diggers.
Yeah.
And it's right down the street from where Hugh Hefner had his Playboy Mansion, right? So it's like a notorious area where, like all these model, just good looking girls go to meet older, wealthy guys. And of course, Mike and I were at the coffee shop and he asked the guy about getting Viagra. That was pretty funny, actually.
Hey, let me ask you this.
I gotta tell you, man, if I had a place called the Viagra Triangle, I would be there every single day because with the white in my beard, I'd just be like, I'm just gonna milk this as much as I can. And hello, young lady. Yes, would you like a latte? Okay.
Nice. Oh no, Greg. No, the coffee shop is in a park, but there's restaurants. I mean, there's like high-end restaurants right there that are just always packed.
Really?
Yeah. When you come to Chicago, we'll walk you through there.
Yeah, this is the old. This is Rush Street. Rush Street is famous for years ago. Where the mob hung out and they gambled.
Really,
and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, do a Google search on Rush Street. You'll be kind of amazed at the past and the history. But anyhow, enough about that crazy rhetoric, right? Just waiting till we get going here this morning. But Carl, like always, good to see you on Saturday morning. Trevor, welcome. Hey, Mark, Larry out on Facebook, and we are live on Clubhouse, Facebook, and Zoom this morning, and we're joined by Greg McDaniel. Hey, Greg, why don't you jump in? Let's tell people who you are, what you're about, and why we have you here.
Well, I don't know why you have me here, but I'm sure happy to be here, Mike. I'll tell you that one. And Carl, it's a blessing to share some time with you as well. Guys, my name is Greg McDaniel. I'm a real estate agent, have been for 22 years here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We focus mainly on the luxury listings, million plus. But we help anybody who wants to buy or sell. We don't stick within a price point. I have a podcast called Real Estate Uncensored that we've been running for 6 years, one of the top rated podcasts out there. And we've had almost 500 or 600 episodes that we get to interview incredible people like the humans I'm on the camera with today. And it's just a blast. And I love to give back. I love to answer questions. And, let's talk marketing. Let's talk real estate. Let's talk anything you guys want to talk about. But thanks for giving me the opportunity to do an intro.
Hey, listen, I have one question for you. Zillow Killer. I want to talk about that. But I wrote this comment down yesterday, Greg, and it kind of came to me. I was on a coaching call with a client, and here's what I wrote this down. I said, we have to start thinking more like business people. And everything that you just mentioned about marketing and listings and all of that, we have to start thinking more like business people. And, why do you think people don't do that? I mean, any major business in the world knows their numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Except in the real estate business.
Well, it's because a lot of times in real estate, a lot of folks, they treat it as a hobby. And they watch HGTV and they're like, oh my God, it's so much fun to just, I'll sell a house. I need a new pair of shoes, or I want to fund my husband or wife's vacation or something like that. But we forget about the follow-up, forget about the prospecting, forget about time blocking. We forget about pretty much everything in business, and then tracking your numbers. My father's been doing business for 50 some odd years, about 53 years at this point, in real estate in 3 different states as a broker. You know what? He built a spreadsheet for me years and years ago. And, it tracked me down to a minute of what my value was for prospecting and bringing and doing kind of that side of the business, so that you could, when someone asks you, what do your numbers look like? I can tell you right now, every minute that I go out there, I'm worth $12 a minute. And I'm worth $2,200 an hour just by doing calls into the marketplace and the conversion rates that we have. So when folks don't track their numbers, then they become invalid. When they become invalid, they stop doing what is needed in the business because they don't see the value in it. So long answer, short question. What I would say is that, people don't take it seriously because they just don't take it seriously because they don't value their time. And that's a horrible thing to say.
So when I first went in the real estate business, I pretty quick started following Mike Ferry. And Mike Ferry always talked about tracking your numbers. So I always did the chicken scratch thing, right? How many dials? Every time I dialed the phone, I put a little chicken scratch. And then every time I made a contact, every time I set an appointment, went on a listing, took a listing, made a sale. So I knew exactly, right? I knew that I made 20,000 dials between December 31st and December 30th. I knew that I made 20,000 dials, and I knew every time I picked the phone up and dialed it, I made $8. So why would I not want to go to work? When you know your numbers, it makes you want to go to work.
100%. My dad, when he started in the business, and something that I've done as well, he used to take 25 beans, literally like beans, and put them in his left pocket. Every time he would make a contact with somebody, he'd take one bean, put it into his right pocket. He wouldn't come home until he had all the 25 beans in his right pocket. Same thing for business cards. If you guys don't know what you're doing, you don't know numbers or anything else like that, start with this. Take 25 business cards. On Monday, walk out of your office or your house, wherever you're working, turn left. Hand out a card to every person you come in contact with until you get 25. On Tuesday, turn right. And do the exact same thing. And guys, your business will flourish in a matter of months, and you'll be like what we're talking about, like Mike, what you're talking about. You can track your numbers really quickly on that kind of metric.
Yeah,
that's so awesome. Years ago, I sold equipment, and a lot of it was making those phone calls, right? And it's so funny. You talk about that bean story. There was a guy named Michael Hurt, that told us to do the exact same thing, because we knew that if we made 20 calls a day, we would exceed our numbers. So he literally gave us all a cup, a little what do they call those? Dixie cups, right?
Dixie cups. Yeah.
Yeah. And it had 20 lima beans in there. And the job was to move them seriously, it was on everyone's desk to move it from one to the other. And you know what? I was one of the only guys that did that. And the next year I was the #1 salesman in North America. The next year I was the #1 salesman globally. And you know what? It's such an easy thing to do, right?
So easy.
So,
It's
Carl,
so easy.
Hang on one second. Carl, this is in your wheelhouse, right? Because Greg, just so you know, Carl just got certified. He's been going through the training for Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So he's a certified trainer. He's one of very few in the United States. He is really gonna knock this thing, to the next level for a lot of people. But he understands this probably at a level you and I can't even comprehend. So that's what I love about Carl, and he comes to the table with that knowledge and that bigger picture of things.
I love that.
Say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Greg.
No, Carl. What was I going to say? So you're certified with Think and Grow Rich. That means you probably know my good friend Andrew Graham, who he has the exclusive contract to do all the video editing and video recording for Think and Grow Rich in his company.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a member of the foundation, and I think they do have an exclusive with him. He probably worked with John Chin and Sharon Lecter and Greg Reed and a couple of the other folks there. But
exactly.
like Mike said, I just got certified through the foundation. I'm a member of the foundation, and I've been studying this stuff for a long time. I had the pleasure of working with Bob Proctor, for many years.
Yep.
But here's the thing I have to say about Mike, or to you, Mike, about that. I think really the only difference is I've studied it in a formal setting and formally. But in the introduction to Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill tells us, he says, I've never met somebody that succeeded, or I'm sorry, he starts off by saying, I never met somebody that used these principles that didn't achieve great success. And he follows up to say, I've never met somebody that's achieved great success that didn't use these principles, whether they were aware of them or not. So both you guys, absolutely, you guys, persistence is one of the principles. Decision, you guys decide, you made a decision to take your father's advice. Mike, you made a decision to listen to that tape over and over and over again, right? Your mastermind, right? What's your mastermind? It's your network, right? So you guys are successful because you use these principles. You might not be able to articulate them exactly the same way I have because you just haven't studied it the way I have. But in areas of your life, you absolutely illustrate them because anybody that's successful uses these principles, whether they're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
They really do. And it is one of those things, as soon as you understand that you're actually asking the right questions and doing the right processes, and then you start getting more educated and you start reading the books, right? Think and Grow Rich. One of my favorite things, Bob Proctor. I listen to his stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, my buddy Andrew, he's actually good friends with him. When I'm like, can I please have a conversation with this guy? Having a conversation with Bob and freaking sorry, I don't know my language levels here.
You're okay. We're raw unscripted here. Like you're uncensored, we're raw and unscripted. So
okay.
I worked with Bob for over a year, one-on-one in a coaching program. Then for 2 years after that, I owned the rights to his products actually in the state of Illinois for a while. Bob is the grand master. He is the grand master. I tell anybody, if you have a chance to see Bob Proctor or get anywhere close to him, do it because he's pushing 90 now. I think he's 86 or 87. He's not going to be around for much longer, but he is the grand master. He worked directly for Napoleon Hill. He worked directly for Earl Nightingale, which is obviously Vic Conan. He was the president of their company. He's just an unbelievable person. And I'm not going to go into it now, but I could tell you story after story after story about my interactions one-on-one with Bob that will blow you away. And he's phenomenal.
Oh my God. I would literally shit my pants if I got to sit in a room with that man.
Well, he invites people up to his house for the weekend. I think it costs you about $50,000 though. I mean, you can actually go spend the weekend with Bob, but he charges, it was about 2-3 years ago, it was $50,000. You can go spend 3 days at his house in Toronto and hang out with him.
Oh, that sounds fantastically affordable. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
It's only a couple more listings sold, Greg.
Yeah. By the way, Greg, I used to live in San Francisco. I lived there. I got there 6 months after the earthquake when Oakland was playing the Giants. So what was
In
that?
1904?
What's that?
In 1904?
Yeah, 1904. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I didn't think I was that old, but
Hence the Viagra triangle.
right.
First time
Well,
meeting, first time, just crushing each other on bad jokes. But yes,
Yeah,
we're in San Fran. We're in the city.
Well, I worked for a company. We had an office in Dublin. We had an office in Pleasanton. We had an office in Fremont. So I lived right in the marina, right downtown. Not quite the marina. It was where the Chestnut. God, I can't think of the streets though. But it's like Vallejo and Chestnut, or those two run parallel. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think they run parallel. But I mean, I don't know either. But you're down near the water, near the Golden Gate Bridge, and everything else.
A little bit further east from there, more towards the wharf.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually a really expensive neighborhood. Like,
it was then too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're up in Noe Valley. That's where I'm currently sitting right now. But yeah, it's a beautiful city, and it's a lot of fun to talk about marketing and real estate and everything else with the people here. The crazy thing is, I have a dog that's sitting right behind me, and go to the dog park, and I meet more people up at the dog park and get more connections up here because everyone's interested in the real estate because it's San Francisco. I don't know which way you guys want to go with the conversation on this one. Do we want to go marketing? Do we want to go tactics? Do we want to go future?
Wherever you want to go. I want to know two things. I want your hat, and then talk about future. Where do you see the market going? What do you see happening? Let me do this real quick. Hey, let me reset the room. It's Mike and Carl on Multifamily Unplugged Saturday morning. We're joined today by Greg McDaniel. We are live on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, good to see you this morning. Glad you're here. Go wake somebody up, stick a cup of coffee in their hand. And we are live on Clubhouse as well as Zoom. So if you want to ask Greg a question or Carl or myself a question, go ahead, use the chat on Zoom or Facebook. If you are on Clubhouse, you might want to jump on another application to communicate with us. So, because we're not going to talk on Clubhouse. So good to see everybody this morning. Glad you're here. Greg, back to you.
Hey, I mean, I just want to know where you guys want to start with this thing. I mean, we can talk about anything because you said you had 2 questions for me, so I'd love to jump into those questions, and then we'll go and dive deep after that.
Yeah, one, your hat, Zillow Killer.
So Zillow Killer, my buddy James Rembrandt, he's a gentleman out of New York, and this is his company, not mine. And what he does is he teaches people how to go out and do marketing on video to bring in revenue to their teams without having to pay Zillow. So that's why he called himself the Zillow Killer. He's been featured on a ton of different things, has a great Facebook group. He's got, when it comes to Clubhouse, huge following on Clubhouse, big room there. So go follow him on the Zillow Killer group. But yeah, he's just a buddy of mine. He's the type of gentleman that will give the shirt off of his back to you. And he called me. I called him because he reached out to me back in 2014. And he said, "Hey, Greg, I don't know if you know this, but you've been my unofficial coach when I was in my real estate business." And I'm like, "Dude, that's awesome, blah, blah, blah." So he and I became friends, and I was messing with him one day, and I'm like, "Dude, I see your Zillow Killer hat, man. I'll rock your stuff hardcore. Let's go." And he's like, "What's your address?" And so he sent me the hat and two shirts, and I've been rocking them hard ever since. And he's a good dude.
What's his name? James
Rembrandt.
I'm putting it in the Rembrandt, like the artist. Of course, I don't know how to spell that.
He's a black gentleman that has like a very serious look to him on his photos. You'll recognize him. I can send you a link afterwards, but he's just a super good human being. And the things he does for the people around him, for marketing and training and so on and so forth, is just incredible. Like, nice. He will take $100 or more out of his own pocket during his training sessions, and he will put it into marketing live time with what he's teaching, and give one of his students leads at a zero cost basis. Just good stuff. And the proceeds for all of his training, they go to a children's hospital. So he doesn't make any money on it.
Nice.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, James is awesome.
All right. So the second thing was market. Where's this market going? What do you see happening right now? You've been in the business a long time, seen some ups and downs, and what do you see coming up? What are we headed for?
And can I jump in real quick, Greg? I just want to make some. So years ago, so I am a mindset guy, but I'm also a commercial real estate guy. I was one of the first Washington Mutual guys. When they came to Chicago, they wanted to break into the Chicago market on the apartment lending, and they were headquartered there. I think they were in Seattle, but Irving, California is where the multifamily group was. Make a long story short, there were 4 of us. And I think we were supposed to do 25 million each the first year. Now this is back in the 90s, right? And the guys in San Francisco were always kicking our rear ends. And because back then, I don't know if you remember or not, but Washington Mutual had a program that they had a negative AM, they had interest only, they had they had these really crazy programs. And, a 6 flat in Chicago back then was selling for maybe $350. Where a 6 flat in San Francisco was selling for like $1 million, right? So the loan sizes were much bigger, but also the guys in San Francisco were churning and burning the loans. In other words, every 6 months or 9 months, they would refinance these things. So they were bumping their numbers, and it really opened my eyes to like how real estate markets can vary, across the country. So, to follow up with Mike's question, what are you seeing locally, and what do you think is going to happen nationally?
Nationally, I can't put a finger on it because it's so, like you said, it's so varied in so many different marketplaces. I mean, some MLSs literally keep their homes on 3x5 cards, and so you can't get their data. But what we're seeing locally is that we're starting to see, and that's not a joke, by the way, it's really true.
That's crazy. Listen, when I got in the business, Mike Ferry used to say, keep your 20 hottest leads on 3x5 cards in your suit coat pocket. Then somebody said to me, hey, do you know what a computer is?
No. Yeah, that's actually funny, Mike, to the fact that like my father, when he was fully active in the business, and this is something that I've inherited, and you guys see me looking down, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm taking notes on my yellow pad, right? And so what I've learned from doing that is that what my father would do is he would drive around town and make calls off of his database from his yellow pad prior to computers, right? And so to answer your question, Carl, I think Carl just left us. Okay, bye, Carl. But I'll tell you one thing in the marketplace here, we're starting to see a little bit of slowdown, but we're seeing a lack of inventory as well. So we're looking for folks, and when I do my outbound cold prospecting, the reception during COVID has been phenomenal on two fronts. The reason why is that one, people have a want or a need to sell because they're tired of being in the urban environment. They want to get out. I mean, I've talked to a lot of friends. My girlfriend and I are talking about buying a farm somewhere, and just living off the land and just kind of disconnecting a little bit. Not right now, but down the road. But a lot of folks are doing the exact same thing. My brother-in-law and sister did it. My brother moved up, my actual other brother moved up to Washington to get more space. So I see an opportunity here for a lot of folks to, one, if they want to buy in San Francisco or the Bay Area or California, there's a lot of people vacating it. At the exact same time, there's a lot of people coming into it because they like the culture. So it's a mixed bag, and that means there's always going to be business no matter which way you're going to be flowing. And you choose, are you going to be outbound or inbound? Once you make that choice, I think there's like I said, a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, a good friend of mine did that. He owned a telecom service business. He moved out of Chicago, bought a farm in Michigan, and I went to hang out with him for the weekend, and he had like 16 sheep. Right, he's got all these sheep. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, and he literally lives out there, and I'm like, and he had me up at 5:30 in the morning because he had to go let the dogs out. I'm like, it's a totally different lifestyle,
Oh, and by the way, Carl, your mic, your camera's not on, just to let you know.
Yeah, you guys can't see me. Blacked out again, Carl. Your door closed.
Oh,
Oh,
Really?
yeah. The
Carl,
funny
who
thing
let
is,
the dogs out, Carl?
dude, the funny thing is, like, my grandmother and grandfather, they have she passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, but my grandfather still lives on his ranch, and they have a ranch in Salinas, California. It's 95 acres, 2 mile driveway. And I mean, you're like, they literally own a mountain with a canyon behind it, backing up to national forest, with a 30-acre parcel below them, that they used to run horses on. And people are just going towards that faster than you can imagine. And it's awesome, you know.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you want to talk about quiet? Whew. And if you don't like
Yeah.
human beings, you this is the perfect place for you.
Yeah. Well, can you guys see me now or no?
Yep, there you are. We see your handsome face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, my parents years ago bought a lake house. I'm originally from Cleveland. They bought a lake house on Lake Erie, and I was just back there this weekend because we were putting in new windows. And oh man, it's like, it's quiet. I live right downtown Chicago. I live right in the heart of downtown, like Midtown Manhattan. If you were in New York,
Wow.
like smack dab in the middle of it. And all night long, there's fire engines, and I mean, it's just crazy. And I go out there and I literally just veg out. I mean, you hear the train. There's a train that comes by every day at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
It's a regular route, and you hear the train off in the distance. It's all. I mean, you hear the crickets, you hear the waves. We're about 1,000 yards or less to the lake. You hear the waves on the. I mean, it's great. It's just really relaxing.
I live in a city too, and I got an L train on the north side of me, an L train on the south side of me, gunshots across the street, ambulances. Did I say that actually? Yeah. Yesterday, here, get this. Yesterday, I look out the window, and this is Tuesday this week. I look out the window, and I'm on the phone with somebody, and she goes, "Hey, what caught your attention?" I said, there's probably 30 FBI and ATF agents, Chicago police, running around the apartment across the street. They were looking for somebody. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a bad memory.
Yeah, I will never forget this. I'll dovetail on that, and then we'll digress again back into real estate. One of the first, we joke with my girlfriend and I. We joke about our first day date and our first night date, right? And so day date was fun. Night date, I was sitting at a bar, having a beer, waiting for her to come meet me. She made me wait for 30 minutes because she wanted to make sure that I was going to that I was going to be there, and so on and so forth. And in that 30 minutes, across the street from the bar, there was probably 20 cop cars. Some dude just got shot outside the bar, and they did not react. And this is a part of the city. Well, Carl, you know this, the Mission.
Sure.
And so it was in the Mission. This is my first time in the Mission. Okay. And I'm sitting there going, what is going on in my life? And nobody reacts. Just kind of like what you were saying earlier, Mike, in regards to like people like, what's going on? You're like, oh, just this ATF and police, blah, blah, blah. And I asked them, like, what's going on? Like, oh, I was just shooting. I'm like, this is normal?
Yeah, the point of the story was Carl was talking about going to the lake house, and it was and it's
right.
quiet. My kids play golf, and I was at a golf outing this week, and my son's on this country club, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so quiet out here. You can't hear it. I mean, you don't even hear the crickets. It's so quiet. So
yeah. Do you guys have fireflies up there?
Not so much in the city, but when you get out of the city, sure. Yeah.
Out of the city. Yeah.
I miss seeing those little fun guys. I mean, that you have a couple of cocktails, smoking a cigar, sitting on the back porch, and all these things are their butts are lighting up, floating around you. It kind of makes you kind of think about like, And when it comes back to real estate, like, where do I really want to land? Like, do I want to live in the city with fire, with ATF and police and shootings and everything else? Or do I just want to go out and look at fireflies and kick it with the cows?
I'll tell you what, though, I got to tell you, it's after about a week in Huron. And for people that don't know, Huron's right next to Sandusky, which is famous for Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world. It's a big, huge, like a Six Flags. It's huge, and it's one of the original ones. But in any case, after about 4 or 5 days, I don't mind coming back to the Chicago. Like Mike and I went to, no, I mean literally, like the only place to go is like Olive Garden, and nothing against Olive Garden, but I'm just saying it's just like there's no like steak joints, or there's no place to go like a Joe's Crab Seafood, or like even in San Francisco, we used to go down to we used to go to a great place, Blues at Lou's it was called, and it was a crab house on the wharf.
I know exactly where that is, actually.
Yeah, that place was great, and you'd go get great crab, that they literally pull out. I mean, it's on a pier. They literally pull it out of the ocean, and then you go upstairs and you listen to incredible blues. So you don't get that out in Huron, Ohio. You know what I mean?
Lou's, it was called Lou's Blues, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
On Pier 49, right?
Pier 39.
Pier 39.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Been there.
Yeah, it was a blast when it was there, but a lot of things have shut down here in San Francisco with COVID and everything. But yeah, that experience where you just kind of get there and you're just like, what in the blank? This is a different experience. But then the funny thing is about real estate is that you can be on Pier 39, tourist central, which my girl and I do. We do what we call tourist dates. So we go to the very touristy things and then act like tourists. It's hilarious. But then
you say terrorists? You act like terrorists?
Yeah, did you say terrorists?
Yes, terrorists. Yes, we wear backpacks with cords coming out of them, and the police have a wonderful time tracking us down.
Right.
That's a joke, by the way, everybody. But then you can then go directly over to Marin County, right over San Francisco, right over the Golden Gate,
yeah.
and you're in Marin Headlands, and you're in just quiet countryside, but you're 15 to 20 minutes in and out. And that's the great thing about real estate. You can pick where you want to go, as long as it suits your lifestyle. And Carl, you were saying, like, a couple of days in the woods, you're just like, I need some stimulation. Like, give me some sort of something, and you can travel in and do it again. And I guess that's kind of an interesting question. Are you guys seeing yourselves more country bound or more city? Like, you're just going to stay in the cities?
Well, for me, I've got teenage kids. I'm divorced, but I got 3 kids in high school. So my plan, I'll always have a place in Chicago. I'll probably keep this place. It's nothing. It's more about the location for me. There's nothing fancy about my particular condo. But yeah, no, I when they're out of high school, my plan is to head toward the Carolinas, because I love that part of the world.
Nice.
My family's still in Cleveland. The problem I had when I lived in California, I moved out there for work, was I didn't see my family. They were just too far away, and my mom and dad don't take planes. So the Carolinas are good. I love the coast. I always love the coast. So I'll probably head towards the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Nice. I love North Carolina.
And I want to be in Orange
and
County.
South Carolina.
I want to be in Orange County, so I'll probably always have a place in Chicago, because my kids are here. But I'll head out towards the West Coast here, probably next year.
Yeah, you like La Jolla, don't you, a lot?
Yeah, and I'll split time between two. So listen, let's digress. Let's jump back into real estate. Greg, let's talk about what a little bit more about what you do and how you sell real estate, how you market real estate.
Not a problem. So let's talk about how, what I sell. So like I said in the beginning, we typically are more in the luxury market. That's purely because of the fact of where we live. It's not just that I'm high and tight and my nose is up in the air. Just our price points here. And so the way that we do a lot of our marketing is we do a lot of video, a lot of social media. And so when I say we, that's me. And so our YouTube channel, Instagram and Facebook stories, highlighting local different businesses. I have a team. I work with a company called Clever Leads, and that's spelled with a K. Clever Leads spelled with a K. And what they do is I have a VA over there that does a lot of my outbound calling. And the numbers that they come back at are ridiculous. Like our first time of doing text messages, lead generation, I thought it was a ridiculous opportunity. But my buddy Jake, who owns the company, we loaded 128 expireds, put them into his outbound prospecting text messaging program. Within seconds, I had people responding back to me. I had over a 70% response rate, and the conversations flew like water down a river. And I was able to pick up a $1.8 million listing off of it. And now there's a trucking side so that you can move people at a cost basis. anywhere in the lower 48 states. So there's a 70% markup on all trucking. So then we start prospecting and pushing out the opportunity for saying, hey, like, you know, list or buy with me and I'll move you anywhere in the lower 48 for free. It's essentially the same thing as a referral fee. And that thing, it is like crack. People lose their marbles because, one, we're taking the stress off of them having to, you know, structure the move. Two, we're taking the cost off of their shoulders. Three, that's going to make you stand out heads and shoulders above any other real estate agent because nobody else is asking that and nobody else has the opportunity to do it. On top of that, what we're doing for a lot of marketing and sales is that we're pushing out TV commercials out to their smart devices. So Hulu, or you pick any other, you know, streaming service, right? Peacock or anything else. And I can push a commercial for a fractions of cents that is already produced, and I just have to come in and do a small portion of it so that they're seeing me on their smart TVs. At the exact same time, I'm offering the opportunity to do a move. And then on top of that, what we're doing is that we're doing geofencing. Are you guys familiar with geofencing?
No.
So geofencing, and you guys are very much in the norm because I'm a dork and I dig deep into this stuff. So geofencing is an invisible fence around a geographic location. So I'm sitting in Noe Valley right now at 635 28th Street. I could put a geofence on top of my property and it will identify every smart device that either lives there or does not live there. So you can either pummel every smart device that's in the property with ads. You'll push about 6 ads a day. And in political runs, like our last political run when Biden took office, at the very end of that, they typically try to do geofencing and push this information out. They do 2 images a day. This does 6 ads a day.
Wow.
And so for like, and it's like costs like $2 a month. It's nothing. But you're doing geofencing around certain locations around all, so you can go to back with all your past clients, right? Put a geofence around their property and they will never forget you because you're on every single smart device. You can run ads directly to their smart TVs. Wow. And then you can have your VA doing calls to them on top of your typical, and then you tack on your social media that they're friends with and they interact with them on their social media. So if you post a story on Facebook or Instagram or a post or whatever you want to do, then when whoever responds, likes, connects, whatever else, then you reach back out to them. The algorithm will then respond back to you going, oh my gosh, these people know each other. They should stay in contact. So it's a huge circle of stuff, as well as, you know, doing YouTube videos, because Clever Leads has a YouTube division and they will edit your video. All you do, upload it, and it's raw audio and raw video, and they'll put it together for you, and they'll put the channel tags and the video tags onto it, which makes you searchable on YouTube. So now you have long form content, you have short form content, you have relative content, and you're relatable.
Here's what I want people to take away with this conversation right now is whether you're a real estate sales agent, whether you're on the residential side or the commercial side, whether you are an investor, these systems that he's talking about right now are very impactful. I teach people to have plenty of lines in the water. You know, I take that old fishing analogy, Greg, where, you know, the more lines you have in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. Put more lines in the water, more prospecting, right? I mean, I come from old school, pick up the telephone and call people directly, but you can't get people today. You talked about text messaging. I got a buddy in the Carolinas that all he does is he sends 20 video texts a day. And he gets on the phone and he'll send you, Greg, he'll send you a video text. Hey, Greg, it's Jack. How you doing? I just want you to know that I was thinking about you and I hope you and your family are doing well. If you know anybody thinking of buying or selling real estate, call me. That's it. And, you know, he says that his conversion rate has gone up immensely as a result of it. So, you know, listen, like I said, if you're an investor, take heed to what Greg is saying, because they're the same principles when you're looking for a seller to sell a place, to buy that place, they'll work for you.
Listen, I want to manage the chat. So is it Clever Leads? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Clever Leads. It has a green wolf emblem and it's spelled with a K. And
Okay.
I always joke with Jake, the owner, about that, because he always says that he spelled it cleverly to be clever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're killing me, fool.
Right. And what was the other one? Was it geofencing? Is that just a terminology? Or is that a company?
No, so geofencing is a product. And this is something that I learned about 10 years ago, and I was fascinated. And so what they really initially started doing with it is they started doing it in retail stores. So let's say, and this is a story that they wrote in the article, that a woman would walk up to a table of jeans, and she had her smartphone on her. And then she walked out of the store without buying a pair of jeans. And then she would get a message or an ad saying, hey, come back, we'll give you 20% off. Because
Wow.
the thing about geofencing is that, let's say that we're in a residential, just because that's what I do, but Carl, it could be commercial, it doesn't matter. Let's say we put it around our commercial space, right? What do you focus in on commercial? Like what aspect?
Multifamily, small apartment buildings, 6 to 25.
Perfect. So let's say that you're in a multifamily space, and you're looking to sell something. You can drop a geofence around that property, and you could push ads to all the homeowners, because they'll identify the IP address on all of your smartphones. So you can say specific ads to them, and you can say specific ads to the people that leave and are not constantly there. So you can have it's a digital moving postcard that never stops.
Wow.
It's crazy. Hey, Greg, couple comments out on the Facebook chat. Melanie McDaniel said, hey, Greg, we're related. So,
I know. Hi, hello, my friend.
And Tracy Levy from Chicago here says that she needs to make sure she re-listens to this again. So
I did this morning. I did dump a lot of content in a very, very short amount of time, and trust me, there's so much more we can go deeper on. You can sew this together like a sweater, and you can make it so that you never go hungry again. And it's purely by systematizing a lot of these things and automating them, because when you get a VA that's 40 hours a week, that's under $1,000, that's doing the outbound, then you have all this inbound with geofencing, text messaging, emails, the whole thing.
Under $1,000 a week?
Under $1,000 a month.
Okay, so
and that's
hours a week, that's 4 weeks a month, and it costs you under $1,000.
And they're fully managed and fully trained. And this is over with Clever again. This is who I don't own any part of Clever Leads, guys. I have zero financial return on this. It's just who I use, right? Yep. But yeah, it's like $996 or something like that. It's $6 an hour, and they're managed, trained, and held accountable, and they're also co-trained. So Carl, if you're a VA and I'm a VA and I screw up with one of my clients, well, you're trained right alongside me. So then you just step in seamlessly and you keep doing what I was doing because I screwed up. So the client never loses. Then you talk about the trucking side of it. And you market the trucking side going, hey, look, I'll move you anywhere in the lower 48 for free, which they've already set up, trucking, organizations on the East Coast and the West Coast. So this is something that you can start marketing. So instead of saying, hey, look, I'm #1 real estate agent in Chicago, you say, hey, if you're moving from Chicago and you're tired of the cold winters and you want to go to Florida, I'll move you there at zero cost as long as you list or sell with me. And you push it on all their smart devices and all of their TV streaming services. You become omnipresent. Then you have your VA doing calls back into them. Did you see your ad? Would you be interested? Hi guys, have you heard of domination? Because you can't beat that.
That's awesome. I just want to identify really when you're talking. Napoleon Hill talks about, one of the chapters is called Imagination. It's the 5th chapter. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, Einstein said imagination is the most powerful force in the universe, right? And Napoleon Hill talks about 2 kinds of imagination, right? Synthetic and creative. And when you're talking there, it's like you're getting creative, right? You're getting creative about your services. You're getting creative about how do you use things that are already out there. I think that trucking thing is brilliant, because I think about when I moved to California, what a nightmare it was for me for the trucking, right? And so you're not, and Napoleon Hill also talks about competition versus creativity. He says you can't be competitive and creative at the same time. And Bob Proctor talks about this, right? Forget about competing. Forget about competition. There is no competition, right? Your only competition is your own competition. So get creative. Get creative, right? I mean, seriously, professionals don't compete with each other. They compete with themselves, and they get creative. They're like, how are we going to win the game, right? How am I going to be the best go-to realtor in my market, right? Because in every market there is the best go-to. And something that you're talking about right there, offering that free moving service. And I just want to bring up one other point back to what we talked about earlier, your metrics, right? Your metrics. So you can make a decision about investing $1,000 because you know exactly what that's going to return for you, right? Because you've done the metrics like we talked about earlier. You know, every dollar you spend at that place, you know exactly what it's going to return to you. So you have no problem writing that check. I'm imagining you have no problem writing that check.
No, not at all. And the funny thing is, I love that you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I've done consistently through my career is I'm always thinking outside the box. For an example, a couple of years ago, more like 10 years ago now at this point, I was sitting at a bar slash restaurant, and my lender and I were getting lunch, and we always love to get these Cajun sandwiches, right, at this one place. And we heard the bar owner yelling at the staff going, "What the are you guys doing? Are there no coasters? Like, you're going to ruin my new bar, blah, blah, blah." So I immediately thought, I'm like, coasters, what would it cost to get a coaster made? Turned out it was like 3 to 5 cents per coaster. So I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, you're my lender. Do you want to go 50-50 with me on this? And you get one side, I get the other side. And he's like, heck yeah, I do. Dude, we brought over 50,000 coasters to that bar. And everyone's like, well, did you get any deals out of it? I'm like, yeah, we got a lot of deals. But the funniest deal was that I had a guy who calls up and goes, "Hey, come over, and I want you to sell my house." Okay. My team manager was like, "Okay, no problem. How'd you hear about us?" And he literally said, "I've been putting my beer on your face for 6 months." And so we helped him buy and sell a couple of properties. And then a funny story is that I was in there one night with a couple of friends, and I saw this group of girls, and this one girl looked really just like she did not want to be there. Like, she was over the scene. And I saw her scribbling on something, and I, out of curiosity, I'm like, "That's my coaster. What's she doing?" Lean over, and she's just making funny faces around my face. And I hesitated, and I was just like, should I say something? Should I not? And I'm like, oh, being me, I have to. And so I just lean over, and I'm like, you know what? I have to tell you, I look a lot better that way, don't I? And she looked at me, looked at the coaster, looked at me, looked at the coaster, looked at me, looked at the coaster, looked at me, and just like her face went bright red. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm just messing with you. I have a hound dogger that I was talking about over here, and another idea for creative out of the box thinking is, I looked into custom tennis balls. Because if you can go buy like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 tennis balls at like 80 cents a pop, and you can go distribute these tennis balls at all these dog parks, because dog people are fanatical about their animals, and they're fanatical about anyone who associates with them. Go drop 100 tennis balls in every dog park every couple of weeks. Dude, are you kidding me? Or give them away as gifts to every person who has a dog that you know. It's just, we also had 2 moving trucks, 14-foot moving trucks that we had around town. And those things, people thought I was nuts. And I also bought a Zion XB. You guys know what those are? Those little boxy, small little like truck things.
Yeah.
I think Toyota makes them. And I plastered my face. I did a 3M wrap around the Zion. And it was flagrant. And it was bright red. I had an American flag on the roof. I mean, I had faces all over the thing, the whole nine. But people talked for years after I got rid of it about how they kept seeing it. And the moving trucks, our faces were probably 4.5 to 5 feet big. I mean, they were massive. And we give them away to every single person to use at a zero cost basis. And the marketing on that stuff, out of the box, just like the thoughts around people's brain, they're like, "Oh my God, I saw a moving truck." I'm like, "We haven't had it for a year."
And the other thing I want to just point out, we talked about this very early on. It's like, either you're going to do this as a hobby and get hobby results, We're going to do it like a professional, like a business, like you and Mike talked about, and you're going to get professional results. You know what I mean? Because doing things like that, and I think fear comes in a lot. You know, a lot of people, I just got done writing a book called Unstoppable You. It talks about what stops us, right? Fear, doubt, indecision, confusion, and worry, right? Well, fear of criticism. Well, what are people going to say? Why would anybody want to look at my face? Or, you know, gosh, if I put my face on a coaster, people are going to make fun of me, right? You got to get rid of that thought. It's first of all, it's all in your head. Number one. Number two is you got to step out. You know, if you don't step out and stand out, you're not gonna succeed. You just won't. So, you know, for people listening, listen to what Greg is saying, because, you know, fear goes right out the window. You can't be afraid of criticism or judgment, because listen, 50% of the people are going to love you and 50% of the people are going to criticize you. And the people that criticize you don't matter. You know, so I take my hat off to you.
Hey guys, we are we're closing in rapidly here on an hour, so just want to keep that in mind for a minute here. And
Greg, how do people get a hold of you? I want to put that in the chat real quick.
Sure, not a problem. One more story about stuff that, like Carl, what you're saying about in regards to you know, not being afraid. Yeah. So during COVID, my girlfriend and I were locked down, and like everybody else in the world, and so she couldn't get manicures or pedicures. So what'd she do? She went out and bought, literally the box is sitting right next to me, of all this different type of toenail and fingernail polish. And so guess who the test dummy was for the nail polish? That's right. That was me. And so she wanted to paint my toenails. And I said, well, okay, you get one toe. Well, she got all 10. And the reason why I tell this story is, one, it's hilarious as a straight guy that, you know, you allow your girlfriend to paint your toenails. But the funny thing is, I was walking down the stairs in my complex one day, met a gal who asked for directions. And she said, oh my gosh, my mom lives here in the complex and we need to sell the property. And so I want to call you. And I said, well, why is that? She's like, because I love your toenails. And I'm like, well, thank you. I like your toenails. And she did call me. She called me back. Her mom passed, unfortunately, but it's being authentically you and not being afraid. And dude, you wouldn't believe the amount of comments I got from people on social media about, like, do you have painted toenails? I'm like, I do, in that photo. I do. They're like, why? And I said, because my girlfriend needed someone to test on. And so what, like Carl, what you're saying is never, ever apologize. Your tribe will come to you 1000%. And the people who don't come to you, that's fine. They're just not meant for you. Not all money is good money. And I know we're wrapping up on an hour here. So Carl, I'll answer your question. The best way to get a hold of me would be probably do a Facebook message. So go to my Facebook, guys, follow me there, send me a DM, direct message. You can connect with me there. Instagram, direct message, or if you want to, you can shoot me a text or a call. Best number is going to be 925-915-1978. And gentlemen, I just appreciate the opportunity to share some screen time with you and have a great conversation.
Yeah, it was fun, Greg. Tracy out here also said that she loves the moving truck idea too, and I think that was, you know, that was one of those ideas from years ago that made a lot of sense, and not everybody did it, right? Just a couple people in the market, and it was good because I had one too. So,
can I make one last comment? Mike, yeah. and then I'll let you wrap it up. So Napoleon Hill says, success requires no apology. And failure has no alibi, right? When you succeed, you don't have to apologize to anybody. There's no apology, and failure has no alibi. In other words, it's completely and totally up to you. So you just hit on that earlier. When you're successful, there's no apology required. Nobody's going to ask you for an apology.
Yeah.
And never feel you have to apologize either. One of my favorite sayings is that, you know, we're all meant to succeed. And when you shrink, if you try to shrink to make other people feel comfortable, then you're doing basically yourself and everybody else a disservice, because you're not allowing them to unknowingly grow in the way they need to grow. And I paraphrase that, but I put it in my emails, and my favorite quote on that. But it's so true, Carl. So true.
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
Well, listen, Greg, it was great to meet you. I look forward to networking with you. And Mike, why don't you take us home?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Carl, as usual, really good to see you this morning. Enjoy your weekend. I'm sure you're going to be with your kids. Good. Greg, I reached out to James Rembrandt on Instagram while we were talking here, and I said that you suggested I reach out to him. So
Nice.
I think that's a good connection. So thank you. And listen, I just, I was sitting here thinking I would love to have you, Greg, and Matt back. I
Sure.
think that the five of us would have a blast. And so maybe sometime beginning in November or something, we should talk about having you guys back and just kind of having a little conversation. I think we'd have fun. So
consider it done. Let's we'll talk off record, and we'll get something that works for everybody, and let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it for sure. So, hey guys, again, thank you for being here. If you were out on Facebook this morning, I know Larry and Tracy and Melanie were out there. Alex was out there, and Trevor here on Zoom, and anybody who was out on Clubhouse, thank you for being here this morning. We are here every Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged. You never know where the conversation's going to go. Also, remember, I have a live event coming up in October 14th through the 16th. We're going to be live at the Schaumburg Marriott. It'll be a deep dive into multifamily. So if you are looking to get a little bit more involved, do some networking and learn something that maybe you don't know today, give me a DM or reach out and I'll get you some information. Glad that you're here. Good to see everybody. And we will be back next week. Have a great weekend, guys.